David Hanna is a farmer and volunteer firefighter. During the Black Summer bushfires, he was put to the test, fighting for weeks to protect his small community of Walwa in Victoria.
The experience was probably overwhelming. None of us had experienced anything like it in our lives before. I think we still have members of our brigade who are suffering, who are still very raw in their mind.
He's been volunteering with Victoria's Country Fire Authority for around 45 years, but he's worried about its future.
The number of volunteers have dropped considerably over recent years, and I think it's because of the frustration, it's because of the difficulty in training, and it's a general lack of respect for volunteers.
He had hoped there'd be an injection of support and equipment after the disaster 2 years ago.
From my point of view, it's been very disappointing. Our current shed down there, it doesn't even have a toilet. I have been campaigning for several years to get a toilet, which is not a big ask. Here we are a couple of months away from what could be potentially a very bad grass fire, and we are still battling to get another vehicle. We share a vehicle with a neighbouring brigade.
Personally, I get quite anxious about it. It's something that I do think about laying in bed at night.
Hayden Drummond is captain of the neighbouring brigade of Burrawee.
Yeah, look, I have considered, resigning or getting out of the CFA. It's just you seem to be banging your head up against a brick wall all the time, trying to get things done.
He believes it's a widespread problem.
The people up here are really quite down on the CFA. There's a lot of people who either won't join or others who are considering just leaving and going back to private infrastructure, and I've got to admit that's gone through my mind a number of times.
It's always unfortunate to hear things like that. The CFA is not going to shy away from the issues of the past, and in fact, we've commissioned an independent cultural review.
Braidwood farmer Cathy Noakes quit the New South Wales Rural Fire Service in 2014, saying she was frustrated by the bureaucracy and lack of respect for local knowledge.
You were never allowed just to go put out a fire. It was always had to wait for approval. So as you waited, the fire just escalated.
But she never quit firefighting, using her own ute instead.
So it's twin 400-litre tanks that you can swap one tank to the other. And yeah, it would go for 4 hours or more. Low volume, high pressure.
Private firefighters, sometimes called mozzies, use their own gear, radios and local knowledge.
So the day it nearly came, it stopped about 20 metres from our driveway. We had 18 or 20 other utes here to help us as they all rolled up the driveway because they knew we were helping everybody else. I was in tears when I thought about it afterwards.
It's a growing trend, and the RFS is currently reviewing how to better coordinate their own crews with the mozzies. But while the severity and frequency of fires escalates, the number of volunteers has been steadily declining.
Clearly, because of the impact of COVID, there's been challenges for recruitment over the last 2 years. So there's concerns at the moment about whether we have enough volunteer firefighters.
Here at Tathra on the New South Wales South Coast, volunteer firefighters have experienced 2 major bushfires in just a few years. In 2018, nearly 70 homes were lost in this small community. That's only spurred brigades on, with some bucking the trend and increasing volunteer numbers.
I think because of the Tathra fire. I think it started then when all the small brigades went, we need to up the ante, we need to get better at this. And there was a big push for recruiting back then. And I think it's just gotten better and better and better.
Katherine McCann's brigade from Tanger was one of the first on scene.
It was fully coming into Tathra and then it hit and it was like, shit. Yeah, this is different. Oh my God.
Despite suffering from PTSD, she stepped back onto the truck during the Black Summer fires.
It's really a community thing. And yeah, it's about looking after each other. And we look after each other really well.
She spent the long campaign over Black Summer telling others to join, recruiting 12 new volunteers since the fires.
And I suppose I saw the community spirit that was around at that time and everybody helping each other.
While she feels well supported by the RFS, she agrees more control needs to be put back into local hands.
I would really like to see it decentralised and go back to what it used to be.
They just need to install common sense back into people. Whether that can happen, I don't know, but I'd love to see it back to what it was.
The RFS says it continually reviews its operations, and it's seen a surge of new volunteers since the fires. The federal government has asked Volunteering Australia to come up with a 10-year strategy to address how to attract and retain volunteers into the future.
We know that there's going to be increasing incidents of natural disasters and bushfires like we saw in the summer bushfires. I think there are challenges for a model that relies hugely on volunteers. If we want policies and practices to work for volunteers, then we need to make sure that they're talked to and that it really reflects the priorities that they are feeling at the local level.
Listen to the volunteers. I think it's a fairly simple ask. Listen to us.
Everyone needs to be able to step up to fight and defend what could be coming, what will come, eventually.
Fighting on in an uncertain future. Jess Davis, ABC News.